Friday surge helped Dalal Street snap its 5-week losing streak. On Editors Roundtable, we take stock of the big winners and losers. We put the spotlight on the government's fight against inflation and look at how tech firms are doubling down on the AI opportunity. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Editors Roundtable. I'm Reema Tendulkar. With me is Prashant, Nimesh, and we've got Mihir Vora with us here in the studio, Director and Chief Investment Officer at Max Life Insurance. Guys, this is a good way to end Friday, right? Yeah. Snap a 5-week losing streak, end up with gains of 1%, midcaps continue to outperform, and even get the banks in on the party, at least on Friday.
Oh, absolutely, Reema. You know, entire August month was just flat, right? On the index, it didn't do anything. But there was a lot of action in the broader markets. And today, for the change, the start of the new series, week on week, we are ending on a positive note. Technically, we've been like in the green, which is a positive sign, right? And there is a momentum with the bulls as well. So clearly a good close, a good start to the new series. And the fact that the mid-cap index or the small-cap index this week has hit a new fresh all-time high. So clearly the momentum is clearly with the bulls.
I can tell you that Nimesh has been jumping up and down his seat all day.
Oh, God.
So
don't ask me the amount of
in excitement.
Which is going
in
on.
Excitement. I mean,
it's crazy.
But it's difficult to kind of wrap your head around the breadth of what is going on, right? I mean, no one can follow everything which is happening in the market, but you can follow a few things. But what happens is there is so much else which is doing so well. I mean, I think this is a market which I think it's a FOMO generator, right? Something is happening somewhere, so you kind of want to know what is happening, but that usually doesn't work. I mean, you got to stick to what works and what you understand, really. Just a few points, Reema, before we kind of go any further. So we basically ended both the Nifty and the Bank Nifty exactly, if you want to talk levels, exactly at the 20-day moving average. So the Nifty within 10 points of the 20-day, and the Bank Nifty, I think, within 50 points so practically there. So it's a close, slightly above, slightly below. So I think we just need a few days solid close above it, and then we kind of put the recent slightly sideways kind of price action behind us. We were talking about how post-Jackson Hole, the US market had moved on. I mean, the NASDAQ actually was up about 4% or so from last Friday, whereas the Nifty as of Thursday's close was down, +4, minus something here. So today we've sort of corrected some of that. For the week, the Nifty is up about 0.8%. The Bank Nifty is up 0.4%. Mid-caps are up 2.5%. Guess what small caps are up? You know, because I was talking about it earlier. 4.5%. Friday to Friday, 4.5% once again on the Bank Nifty. I mean, for what it's worth, today we will get the US jobs number, the jobs data, monthly jobs data, unless it's a big shocker, I mean, which is some very cold or very hot kind of data. I think the market's already moved on. But, it's an important one. Surprises come our way from unexpected quarters. So in that sense, it is important to kind of note. But Nimesh, tell us, I mean, you've been, as I said, jumping up and down. So give us a little bit of the excitement.
Oh, Prashant, this was a crazy month, right? In the month of August, private equity investors and promoters have sold stake worth 30,000 crores or more, right? I mean, I have not seen in my 20 years of career something like this happening in a month. Promoters selling so much, and even then the stocks are going up. I'm sure we'll ask Mihir as well. He's seen more than me in the market in the last 3 decades, I believe. So we'll ask Mihir about that trend. But broadly, that's been the big talking point, right? A lot of promoters selling out PX, and that trend even is likely to continue. So that's a clear message from the dealing room as well. The sector which clearly outperformed was the PSUs. You've seen massive rally across the PSU stocks, right? Whether it's rail PSU, defense PSU, power PSU at the fag, and we've seen those as also participating the bandwagon. So clearly the PSU is where the big outperformance came in the month of the August series. Well, while you spoke about the promoter selling, PE selling, now the feedback is you will see some large M&A transactions as well. So my eyes would be on that clearly in the month of September as to where you can see a large M&A deals happening. So that's something to track. And as I said earlier, the Nifty small cap index hit a fresh all-time high. Prashant, from a market point of view, I'll tell you, well, there is some bit of frenziness in the market, but there is not over-ownership, whether it's the broader markets or even in the mid-cap and small cap. Look at the start of the new series. The P series at 0.8, right? No, it doesn't suggest that we are in an overbought zone. Even in the mid-cap and small cap, the feedback is there is a lot of left-out feeling now. People are sitting on cash. The mutual fund guys are sitting on cash. The individual investors are sitting on cash, and markets are not obliging. So clearly, that's the kind of market you are in. Promoters selling out, PE selling out, and still market stocks are going up. Nobody has a stock to own. So I guess that's what it is. Massive momentum in the broader markets. Mir, I want to
By the
ask
way, I
you.
just want to say, in case it picks up, FOMO generator, I coined the term. I don't think it'll pick up. Go on, sorry.
Mir, you've seen a lot of such, bull cycles, bear cycles. Have you ever noticed this kind of a markets when the promoters sell out 20%, 30% stake in a single block, and then the stock goes up? How do you read into this promoter selling exits?
I think it's different in the sense that we've never seen a market in which promoters, including foreigners, selling and the markets continue to go up. So I think the last 3-4 years have really changed the dynamics of the market, where we have the local retail clients, the HNIs local, as well as the local domestic mutual funds and insurance companies and EPF and NPS becoming such a large pool now that they are more than able to counter the selling by promoters as well as FII. So it is a bit different this time, I would say.
Actually, it's almost an opposite indicator, right? I mean, you're actually waiting. If it's not a completely bad company, if it's a decent company,
Absolutely.
and selling overhang gets over, you want to actually be on the buy side next day onwards, because more often than not, lately, stocks have gone up.
Absolutely. So the most common question that we ask our traders is this the last lot?
So, I got a very interesting counter feedback to the promoter selling, and also, while in the past we used to see this as a negative trend, but now the feedback is a lot of the promoters are actually, selling for 3%, 5%, 8%, 10%, whatever, and they're actually creating their family offices. So, in a way, this money is coming back into the market, so to speak, if not in their own stocks, but that's the big trend which has been visible. Every medium-sized company is now setting up their own family offices, looking at investments into the capital market. So that way, to some extent, even that is the liquidity which is playing out in the markets, in the broader markets. That's also one leg which has not been highly spoken about, but that's actually pushing a lot of mid caps and small caps.
Sorry, you're talking about liquidity. I think one of the big factors driving the market is that the large caps, to a lot of extent, are being supported by the NPS and EPF money, and the mid and small caps are being supported by the insurance money, because typically insurance, EPS, NPS and EPFO typically are on the large cap side. But the mutual funds are getting money in the multi-cap funds and the small and mid-cap funds. So I think both ends of the markets are being supported by domestics.
I just want to ask one question, Mir. Nimesh mentioned PSUs, right? Is it a PSU theme, or PSU stocks are doing well because of the industries that they're in? Because they're in old economy, defense, rail,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Is that
I think it's the latter. And
not because they are PSU,
not
or
because
something is happening with the government?
So you don't see all the commodities or the OMCs going up, frankly, that much compared to the ones where there is real traction happening. We are talking about defense, we are talking about rail, a lot of consultancy companies or finance companies in the power sector, etc. are PSUs, but they are growing their top line, and that's the reason why stocks are also good.
Well, talking about traction, one space where we've seen a lot of traction is the small caps, right? The small cap 100 index has hit an all-time high this week of 12,241, and it's breached the previous high that it hit in January of last year. Now, the question, Nimesh, is there more to go, right? How overextended are we?
Well, Rima, only in hindsight we'll come to know whether there is more to go. I want to put that spotlight on the Nifty Small Cap Index, largely because when you talk to the market participants, loosely they'll come and say, "Oh, markets look overbought, बहुत stocks चल गया है, we need to be careful." I thought I'll just put some data on the board and explain as to why there could be further potential upside in the broader market. So look at what the small cap index has done. This week the small cap index hit a new all-time high of almost 12,241, which is the previous high was 12,047, which you hit in January of 2022. Since then, look at the volatility as well. If you look at the Nifty Small Cap Index, in January they hit a high. Then in June itself, it hit a low of 7905. That was a sharp fall we saw. So in the broader markets, you will see this kind of dips as well. But from there, we've rallied almost 55%, and today, this week, in fact, we've hit a new high of 12,241. So clearly, so now if you look at the broader markets, yes, there is a bit of frenziness, there is a bit of excitement as well. A lot of stocks have rallied between 50 to 500% in the last 18 months. But do you think, the whole question is there a room for an upside? The answer to that could be yes, because there is under ownership yet, and the fact that technically a lot of experts believe that we can rally another 10 to 12% on the index. So let's look at the big movers in the last, like say, 18 months or so. in the broader markets, especially in the small cap index, the biggest gainer is Mazgaon Dock. That's up almost more than 5 times in the last 18 months. RVNL, Kalyan Jewelers, Fact, which has moved around between 200 to 300%, and others like Bharat Dynamics, Raymond's, Cochin Shipyard. There are a lot of other stocks as well. UCO Bank, a couple of bank stocks as well. KEI Industries, something like a Mangalore Refinery is up 110%. Suzlon is up 120% as well. So clearly there has been a lot of momentum in the small cap stocks, but there were some losers as well. Let's run through quickly. CDSL is down 30-odd%. Borosil Renewables down 30-odd%. Something like a Balaji Mines is down almost 36%. Questcorp is down 40%. And so is the case with Chambal Fertilizer, which is down 40-odd%. So there were some losers as well in the broader markets. Tanla is down 50-odd%. IEX down 50%. Something like a Brightcom, of course, for bad reasons, that stock has also fallen almost 84%. The big point is, yes, there is a bit of excessiveness, but I spoke to a couple of technical analysts. Let's look at Atul Suri's view first. He believes that there is still no excessiveness yet in the small cap index. In fact, the small cap index so far is beaten down from 2022 levels and only doing a catch up. So he believes that there is a potential another 15% upside technically in the small cap index from current levels. Even I spoke to Rahul Sharma of JM Financials. Even he's of the view that the last time the index rallied, it multiplied 4 times. Similar pattern has been suggesting now as well. The rally has begun from almost 8,600 levels in March and has gone up 40%. But still, he believes that there is a lot of momentum, and technically, even he is of the view that there could be a further upside. So in fact, he's given some technical levels as well for the broader market. So he's seeing a levels of almost 15,000 and 17,000 over the next 12 months. So that's the kind of potential rally we can see in the small cap indices from here on as well. So that's the clear technical view from the two technical experts. Even fundamentally, I was just looking at the valuations of the small cap index at these all-time highs. We are still not to the historical levels what we saw in the past. So even fundamentally, there is a room, and technically, experts believe that even 10 to 15% level or an upside from current levels is quite possible in the smaller indices. So yes, we need to be careful with the stocks that we choose, but from a momentum point of view, clearly there is a room for further upside in the broader markets.
Mihir, would you want to, chime in on the small cap space? Fundamentals are improving on the sidelines. As India is doing well, these companies are also doing well. And as Nimesh pointed out, valuations are nowhere close to those historical euphoric levels that we had in the past, which heralded a downside in these stocks.
Yes, and also the fact that there has been a lot of supply also in terms of IPO as well as the selling by promoters and PE funds. So there seems to be, some kind of a supply, I would say, rationality also coming into the market. That's the reason why euphoric valuations are still not around the corner. But the main thing is that most of the emerging sectors are not represented in the large cap indices. And that's the reason the higher growth segments, whether it's an urban consumption or railways or defense, or all those new themes, chemicals, are not there. So anybody who wants to take exposure to the highest growing sectors in the economy has to come to mid and small caps by default.
No, that's a fair point. There's another theme that we want to talk about, and the risk is of food inflation. Prashant, crude prices are going up.
Yeah.
Monsoon's been a deficiency. 36% in the month of August, that's the deficiency. And that's raised the risk of food prices going up significantly from current levels.
I mean, they're already up and the government is acting, right? So I thought, why not to kind of take a look at what the action so far has been and which is the next commodity where we actually will see action coming through. So, just to lay the backdrop for this, it's basically been a patchy monsoon season. I mean, the monsoon season runs from the 1st of June till the end of September. So we've got 1 month left. And so far, it's not been all that great. And that's basically leading to food prices going up. All India deficit as of the 29th of August stands at 9%. Over 10%, the government has the option to declare it as a drought. It's there, it's up to them, but over 10% qualifies to be declared as a drought. States which are worst affected, Kerala, Karnataka, Bihar. We had the last July CPI number, which of course, as we all know, shot up to 7.2% from under 5%. But August has been particularly bad. August rainfall was sharply below what the average for the month actually is. And here, some of the rice, wheat growing states have been very badly hit. MP, for example, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, of course, continues to fare very poorly. August CPI, when we get the data, is also expected to be over 7%, little over 7% or so. and the government's been acting, right? For example, just earlier this week, the government cut LPG prices by 20%, and some estimates say that that will have about a 20 to 25 basis point impact on inflation. But food inflation is actually where bulk of the problem really lies, because if you take a look at the household consumption, about 17% of household consumption or household spending goes towards cereals. So you just take a look at the consumer food price index. It's made up of 10 items like cereals, which is about, as I said, 17% of what households spend on, meat, fish, eggs, milk, oil, fruits, vegetables. Across the board, actually, inflation has been rising. Just to give you some numbers, in the case of rice, rice inflation is running at about 12%. This is the average annual inflation. Average annual wheat inflation is almost at a 10-year high. And in the case of pulses, it's at the highest since 2021. 2020 was a very big year for pulses, but we're at 2021 levels there as well. Government action, we've seen, lots of it, right? In the case of rice, we've been talking about the duty on parboiled rice exports. In the case of wheat, the government has been regulating what is available in the open market. They've been kind of bringing the quantities lower. In the case of pulses, they've been increasing supply in the open market. They've changed procurement ceilings, etc. Onions, we've kind of seen. Tomatoes, we've seen the government kind of stepping in and providing some of this stuff at subsidized rates. Many are asking, could sugar be next, right? And sugar is there are sugar companies listed, and many have been asking the question at least, perhaps could sugar be next? Actually, there were some media reports on the 24th of August saying exactly that government will ban sugar exports. The government came out and said, well, nothing, we're not issued anything, so it's unlikely. But many are saying, well, if they can do something for rice, what's the big deal with sugar? So perhaps it's a matter of, it'll happen. We'll have to see, we'll have to wait and see. But sugar is a highly regulated commodity with, of course, direct implications for listed stocks, etc. as well. All of this ties in, of course, with election season, which is upon us, right? State elections, November and December, there are 5 states which go to poll: Chhattisgarh, MP, Mizoram, Rajasthan, and Telangana. This is the semi-final before the big general elections of 2024. Here in Mumbai, we're having this opposition coalition coming together, right? India, and but this is important, right? And that's one of the risks: lower rainfall, higher inflation, and how that feeds through. What we're seeing now is one thing, but this tends to show up with a lagged impact as well.
Yes and no, in the sense, you're right, food inflation has been a concern. But the government has, as you mentioned, been really proactive about quantitative as well as tariff measures. And every day there is some announcement on some commodity, whether it's, as you talked about, rice, pulses. We are talking about even to some extent in milk also, vegetables. So I think the response of the government will be more on the fiscal side, and I don't see inflation as an issue yet. Because food inflation, as you rightly mentioned, is already coming down. The price of tomatoes is already down 70-80%, and similarly for onions, etc. So the RBI and the government have been treating inflation as transitory, and also taking the measures required to cover. So I don't think it's a big issue as of now.
Well, we good to get sugar prices down, right, before the festive season. Not bad.
It's not bad. Well, you don't have sugar, right? You must complain. We'll take a quick commercial break here. We are back. We put the focus on generative AI and what tech companies are doing to double down on this big opportunity. Rima does that for us. We're back in just a bit.